You're listening to the What is Success Show, a podcast that seeks people from all walks of life that ask the question, what does success mean to you and what inspires you? My name's Albert Sanusa. I'm best known for being the founder and owner of State Transport, a business I built from the ground up, now growing and diversifying into all sectors of the supply chain. Welcome, Lance, to our second episode of Successful People and what it means to them. And if I could ask, just for a brief intro for our viewers, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks first of all for having me, Albert.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, mate. It's a bit about myself. It's interesting how long this could go for. But my current role, what I do now is I'm the CEO and founder of the Love Me Love You Foundation. So we're a mental health organisation that goes into schools, clubs and workplaces and delivers education and training programs. I'm a husband and father of two little boys, 6 and 3, Alexander and Lenny. And you know, in a past life I was an AFL footballer. I use that term loosely, mate, but I played for 8 years, lived the dream of all that. But, you know, I've lived my big part of my story of what I do and who I am is I've lived with mental illness for a long period of time in my life. Substance abuse was a big part of my life, but it's about understanding how I better manage my system and make sure that we're having a more positive impact in life.
Yeah, no, look, thank you very much for that. And in our industry, the transport industry, it is a very stressful environment, as it is for many companies and many staff within those businesses, and on a personal level as well. We were chatting earlier, I suffered from depression when I was 31 and I was on medication for 2 years. But fortunately, I've come out better at the other end. And I think it would be great if we could have the opportunity with your knowledge and experience to learn a bit from you. And I know a lot of our people, especially in our industry, would love to know what are some of the tools and some of the triggers that may cause depression and anxiety. And perhaps if you could expand about that and a little bit about your organisation, Love Me, Love You.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see how people talk about mental health, Albert, independent of what industry you're in and the culture that surrounds that. And, you know, as a society, people are still getting better at understanding what mental health is. And people, first of all, we all need to know that and understand we all have a mental health. We all have it. This is the flourishing state of our minds, a state of well-being where every individual realises his or her own potential, work productively and fruitfully, and understand the stresses of life, all those sorts of things. You know, and it's broken up into whole different factors of one's life, say the different domains that we talk about. You know, whether it be at work, or it be socially, their physical life, you know, family life, which is very important to a lot of people, and understanding how that all works for people and how the effect of the challenges and the stresses or the experiences that makes, you know, it put to a detriment of someone's mental health. And then the idea about that is understanding, okay, well, I understand what it is. I need to know how it impacts me. What are my emotional responses? How do I physically respond to my experiences? How do I stay on top of these things? And it comes around language as well. You know, when people talk about, they say suffering or committed suicide, you know, in terms of the fact. But it's about understanding that using these types of words or language around it actually makes it worse, the situation for people that are being challenged by it.
I did like what you said earlier on when we were chatting that people, they say they're suffering from, but you had a different take on that.
Yeah, it is, mate.
You're living with it.
You're living with it. Yeah, this is something, if you want to play, and I use this in language, understanding that if you want to suffer from it, you're playing a victim mentality. And that's the process, okay? So you're going, okay, I suffered from this. You haven't suffered from it. This is something that's happening in your life or happened in your life. And then understand what you're going to do with it. If I want to play the victim, I am going to suffer. But understand, if you interpret your own language to say, okay, these are the experiences I'm going through, or someone that I'm living with or caring for is going through, I can actually better manage my system to move forward because I've already started my growth mindset and understanding how it all works. Not saying, okay, I suffer from this, or I've committed this, or this has happened to me. Don't bring it back to this and being so insular in the thought process. So it's understanding, okay, this is what I need to work with. This is how I'm going to manage my way to move forward.
Yeah, look, that's a very good point. I was just going to ask a question on it's in my time we've had some magnificent managers, and I haven't had the skill set to manage them when I could see they were getting cooked. They were really struggling with the stress levels and the anxiety on a personal level. So how do you approach someone who you think is really struggling? They're showing unusual traits you've never seen before, becoming very upset, very loud, and so on. How do you actually approach someone? It's very hard to put the words together to say to someone, look, I think you're suffering some sort of mental episode, or you're highly stressed, without offending them, and you also feel a bit intimidated in being able to bring that up. So, but it'd be good to be able to have a nice way of approaching that.
It's how long's a piece of string at the moment, because every person's different, right? So you're looking for the changes in behaviour. So obviously physical behaviour, but also verbal behaviour. How they're talking, the tone of their voice, what they're talking about. And then same talking about behaviour, how people are reacting to it. And usually a lot of the stuff, as you said, it's about that workplace. If you're talking about people in your workplace, it's about the workplace stress. And not getting the help that they need, not feeling supported in what they're doing, and trying to do all the things by themselves, and working super hours and all that sort of stuff. But understanding that in a business, there's always a team around you, and we got to allow your team to be a part of your process, because the hardest thing to do in life is to do it by yourself. And that's the understanding of it. So, when you're looking for changes in behaviour or people's ways of going about it, and you understand that there might be something going on, you sort of got to, without offending them, as the biggest fear of this type of conversation is for a lot of people.
It's often they go, I don't have a problem. What are you talking about?
Brush it off, see you later. And that's a tricky one, because if you have a relationship with that person, which you'd hope you would by identifying the fact there is something going on, you go to them with notice. Okay, so, and just understanding, okay, well, mate, how you going, blah, blah, blah. Build rapport into the conversation, and then say, mate, I've noticed this happened, or I've noticed this has been happening, or I've noticed you said this, or go into a notice, creates ownership onto the person, saying, okay, well, this is what's going on. And, as I said, most people will say,
don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem, I'm all good. But if you've got that relationship with people, and relationships are everything, and this is a big thing that, I don't know, you live by, but relationships are everything, and that's how you work it, and that's how you're understanding it, not just at workplace, at home, in social, wherever you are, building those relationships and understanding the purpose of those relationships as well.
Well, that's very good. And what's some points that you can provide to anyone listening to this? Is what's a self-check? Are there sort of 5 key things that they can do if they are feeling a bit? Is there a self-check at all?
What's the blueprint? What's the blueprint?
Is it one of the tags would be you're not sleeping well, you're coming to work, you're waking up in the morning tired. Is there a couple of 5 key things that you could say to people, if this is happening to you, maybe you need to dig a bit deeper and start investigating, speak to your GP, get a referral to a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
If it was easy as that, Albert.
Okay.
This is the really interesting thing that we're all dealing with at the moment, is understanding, okay, what works for me doesn't work for you. Exercise is a great thing that people get into to actually trigger their positive process, something like that. Some people hate exercise. So it's trying to find that balance of who's what and how it impacts me. I've got to try different things. There's a framework you can use, exercise, understanding your sleeping patterns, understanding nutrition and how that works for you. Is it too much alcohol? Is there not enough alcohol? This is the crazy conversation that you can have. Am I socially disconnecting? Am I stressed all the time? Have I got excessive sweating going on because I'm stressed and all those sorts of process? Am I withdrawing from the things that I like doing?
Could I just ask you just on that point about, I'm feeling stressed, I'm not sleeping well, sweating a lot. Is that a normal part of life as well? Because I find I'll go through just peaks and troughs. I could have months where I'm just cruising, feeling great. Then I have these periods. Do I need to be concerned, or is that, another one is becoming overly concerned and starting to obsess about things as well. How do you sort of differentiate?
Start that freak out mode. Right? When people get their freak out, why is this happening to me? And then it's about trace it back a bit and going, okay, this is the things that I do for me and how I improve my mental health and well-being, and I feel good about doing these sorts of things, whether it be the exercise, whether it be journaling, whether it be meditating, whatever it might be. But going, okay, well, these are the things I'm doing. I'm still feeling like crap. What else can I be doing? Or what is the experience? Or what's happened at work? Or what has happened at home? What is the thing that's actually got me to this point? And I love journaling. I'm a big journaler, and most of the time I'll just throw the piece of paper out, or delete the file that I've written it on, just because it helps me become accountable to my own thoughts.
Yeah.
And this is the thing I said before about the victim mentality: is if you want to play the victim in that space, you won't actually acknowledge the things that are going on, and acknowledge the experiences at work, experiences at home, or wherever you are. Okay, but understanding your trigger processes. So triggers aren't the sort of things that always have a negative effect. Let's look at the other side of it. It's what are the positive triggers? Who do I turn to? Who are the conversations with the people that I trust and care for and respect for? What are the things I need to do for myself? How do I wake up every single day with that positive step moving forward? And then when shit hits a fan, because it does, we all go through it. You're not invincible in this world. This is what you need to understand, is that what is it that I need to do with that? How do I become more mindful of my experience now to say, okay, I've learnt from that experience now, not in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I'm going to have a lot more positive experiences.
So it's doing like a little mini self-audit every couple of weeks, maybe just to reset. Definitely. And I found, as I was sharing before with you, that I suffered from depression when I was 31. And
lived with it, mate.
Was living with it and sought some help. That was probably the first step, was seeking some help and advice, and that was great. But then I'd made changes in my life. I did more of what you were saying. I was getting up rather earlier, and it was only to get up so I could go for a walk. And I still do it now, 5 a.m, 5:30. I'm generally up, and that first half an hour in the morning, I plan my whole day. I just feel more relaxed. I may have some meetings, and I'll start going through the basics, what I need to do. And by the time I come to work, I've already got a plan, and I think having a plan in place is good, as opposed to just turning up. Other advice I've given, you can't really blame the work or blame something happening personally, because we've all got issues and problems. It's how we deal with that in the planning. And as you said just then, is have a bit of a review and then reset, and then act on whatever you think needs to change in your life to keep yourself in a happier and better place.
Most definitely. And you talk about plans. Plans are things we write on paper or blah, 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 and that's sometimes, most of the time for a lot of people, that's where they stay.
Yeah.
It's understanding how you execute that plan. So it becomes your strategy of what's going on through your day. How do you take those times away from the workplace components? How do you compartmentalize the different parts of your life to make sure, okay, I'm getting to the end of my day and I've achieved what I set out to do? Were the outcomes what I wanted? And usually not, right? Because things happen, and things that are out of your control happen in life and making it through. It's a really interesting way of looking about the fact of the little things that we do for ourselves. Everyone wants this big blueprint and the big events of how do I make it happen? How do I make...
Life's not like that.
It's not like that.
You always get a curveball thrown in somewhere.
Every day's a curveball, but that's life. But as I said before about the mindfulness process, if you are more mindful of your experiences, understand how you're going about it, you've got your plan and you're executing your plan to become that strategy. If you're executing it mindfully and your values align to where you're going about it, you're going to have a better framework to execute a positive mental health experience. But life's tricky, mate. Life's an absolute battle. And the more we can understand, okay, this is the battle, these are the outcomes that I'd like to do with it. Did I get there? Yeah, maybe. But did I? Did I try my best to actually have a positive impact, or am I just languishing in the process of going, oh, this is life, and this is the cards I'm dealt, and I'm just going to deal with it.
Yeah, look, I tend to be very self-critical, and one of the professionals that I was speaking to said, have the ability to forgive yourself, be more forgiving, and as you're just pointing out, don't be too hard on yourself. If you get 80% or 50% of whatever you're wanting to achieve, be happy with that. Then reset and just work on the other 30 or 50% that may be still there that you want to achieve. And one of the other issues I had with stress in work is that I'd come home at the end of the night, I had my dinner, then I have all these ideas. So I found it was very helpful to write the ideas down. At least it was out of my head, and it sort of cleared my head so I could have a good night's sleep. And then I would still get up throughout the night and write down the ideas, because I wasn't getting enough rest because I had all these ideas. I'm pretty passionate about what I do, and I'm very fortunate. I love my job, and I'm very passionate about it. But one of the big benefits was to write these things as they occur, and then they're out of my mind, and my body can just relax, and I can have a peaceful, restful sleep.
Yeah.
Are there any other tips like that?
We're talking about that very process is amazing what they talk about, and that's one of the biggest tips that they do when you talk about people waking up through the night or can't sleep. You know, you get to bed and people go to sleep.
I was a big sufferer of that.
3-4 hours later, they're still like staring at the ceiling, going, "What it is?" So we say that and going, actually get up, get out of your bed. Go to get pen and paper, write it all what's going on in your head, and then process yourself back down. Yeah. So it's understanding how you disconnect to reconnect. So disconnecting from everything that's going on, the work, the family, the social, the physical pain, whatever it might be, disconnect from it as much as you possibly can by getting it out and going, okay, get my sleep, understand what I need to do, don't get 10, 12 hours because that actually makes you feel worse. Understanding, I need to get my 6 to 8 hours sleep. I need to function through that. But what are my plans? So you said you've got your half an hour in the morning where you do your planning through what's going to go through the day. Yep. When I start my day, I get up, I go to it's been going out to the garage. I've got the gym in the garage, or I go to the gym down the road, and I'll meditate first. Get that back, bang, slow myself down, because instead of going bang, 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 rushing around, I process myself to go, okay, what is it that I need to be doing? Centralise myself again. And then get into my training, and that's my thing. That's my outlet. You got to find your outlet. What's your escape? Instead of escaping in terms of running away from things, what are you running towards? Yeah, that's why it's understanding that process for a lot of people.
No, that's very true, and I found my escape as well because again I took advice on that. Yep. And I always wanted to do motorcycling, and I have to admit, I bought a motorcycle, and I had a friend that already had one. And because it's such a shift in what I was normally doing, it's a different dynamic to driving a car. There's a physical nature to it. There's a more intrinsic connection to the motorcycle. And it stopped me from thinking of everything else. So I think I entered into some sort of meditative state when I get onto the motorcycle. And and I've often said to others, try and find something that'll give you that break where you can actually lose yourself in something else. And for me, it was that. But as you say, it's different for everyone.
Not me, mate. I've been nowhere jumping on 2 wheels. That's for sure, mate.
Bungee jumping, or skydiving.
Same thing.
But it is. Do something, and if that actually breaks that thread, there's so much relief, and you feel actually a relief, a weight's been lifted off your shoulder because you're sort of forgotten for that half an hour or hour, what it might be. Of whatever was troubling you, and it could actually set up a good path for just a clearer mind and
that's the thing. Like it is, how do you pull yourself into a position to be present? Bring back some thought. Let's bring back some clarity and just going, okay, I'm here, I'm slow, I'm doing. The rest of the world can wait. Let me be. And me time. And it's another form of me time because it's the process of just doing something that's just here. And doing, a lot of people walk or run or, or motorbike or whatever it might be. But as I said, like, I like riding my bike. Like I got my
push bike.
Push bike.
It's a lot healthier.
Push bike. So, and I love the process of just the same thing, whether it be on the road or it be on my trainer. I'm just there. And I need to do, I'm on I prefer on the trainer because on the road I'm going to get hit by a magpie, I'm going to get swept by a magpie, or I'm going to get hit by a car sooner or later.
I know you cyclists are pretty game as well.
Yeah,
at least I got all the protective gear on. You guys have just got lycra.
Yeah, he's wearing lycra and a helmet. Like there's no good from that. So, and then you got to stop for a coffee with some people. And you're sitting there across the chairs with just your lycra on. It's just awkward.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit awkward to look at as well.
Yeah. So for the viewers, right? So, but as I said, it's bringing what works for me. But when we're talking about your routine and the things that you need to do for yourself and how they work, people like even kids these days, it's gaming. They're gaming. There's a difference between gaming and playing games and enjoying, because it is a social thing for them. It's being respectful of that. But when those behaviours or those activities start impacting negatively on other parts of your life, there's a concern. If we talk about kids that are staying up to all hours in the morning, watching YouTube, watching kids unwrap Easter eggs in Japan or whatever. Whatever kids doing. Like I'm clearly not a kid anymore, but I understand it. But I understand the process of why they do it. But that then is affecting their sleep. and they wake up crap, and then they start, they don't wake up until, after lunchtime sort of thing, and the rest of the day's gone, and they're not doing things positively to make sure it works. Play your games, do what you need to do, but if those behaviours, as I said, are taking over or playing a detriment to the other parts of your life, we've got some issues. But it's about how do you check in with that and understand how it works.
Good points.
Yeah.
I know I've been asked, and you'd know a lot more about it than I would. How does nutrition, how can that complement a healthier mindset? Any
simple
particular
analogy,
foods?
mate. Simple analogy. You put crap in, you're going to get crap out.
True.
That's the thing, right? Like, understand there's treats and there's things that we put into our system that, don't have a massively positive effect on if it becomes a habit. And, chocolates and cakes and desserts and alcohol, which is a big part of that as well. Sugar, too much sugary foods, too much fatty foods, and, the wrong fatty foods. No, I'm not saying, eating lots of avocado is good for you. Eating lots of Big Macs, not so much. Right? So understanding what nutrition works for you. Some people, like I need, and the European in me as well, pasta works for me. But I have a body type that needs that, and it works for me. I'm not playing games with it. I'm not sort of counting calories. I'm not saying I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But if I want to do it at the time, but if those non-nutritional positive choices you're making is becoming the regular, then there's a concern. Like too much soft drink, stuff like that.
Too much sugar, salt,
too much
just
sugars,
not good.
too
Gets the
much
body in a
overly salty
hypo sort of mode and unsettles your mind. Is that how it works?
Well, the chemicals in these sorts of things, especially with sugar, it actually starts blocking the neural transmitters. Okay, so your thought process doesn't quite work as well as it does. The insulin spikes, all those sorts of things work, and you get this big high and you get this big crash, big high, big crash. If you ride that roller coaster with your nutrition, it's going to become a big crash the whole time.
I see a lot of young guys, especially here, drinking the energy drinks, and I had a half of one, and I couldn't even finish the rest of it. It was like the old cough syrup I used to have when I was younger, and these guys are like having 8 or 10 cans a day. That's bad, isn't it?
The thing is, you think it's creating energy. Marketing is amazing, right? And that's what they do. They attach themselves to the right brands, the influencers, and all these sorts of things. They go, it makes me feel amazing. But that becomes then that habit. It'd be really interesting to see what in the inside of somebody's body looks like. What's happening to their organs. How does that impact, your health, because everything ends up in here and in your gut. So your neural transmitters, all of the nerves end up in your tummy. If you're not working that part of your body correctly from your nutritional and your hydration choices, then that then floats up to your head, and then it's too hard to come back sometimes.
And then compacted with the stresses of living, it all sort of comes together, and it's sort of against you a bit. And
but you don't go into these. You don't go into these things thinking, this is not good for me. It's like risk-taking behaviours or people's coping mechanisms. You don't go into it going, this is not good for me, I'm going to do it. This is going to be my way of life, and this is how I'm going to work through it. A lot of people's coping mechanisms, in times, initial stages, is how they escape from a process, or how am I getting instant gratification from this? But going, okay, well, how is this? But then it becomes your coping mechanism for everything. And your thought process in doing that then becomes detrimental. The risk-taking behaviours, the alcohol behaviours, drugs, sugary foods, bloody starting fights, excessive spending, all these sorts of things. If you're going out of your realms with how it actually positively impacts, then that coping becomes harmful coping. And that's sometimes, as I said, it's a long way back.
Look, there's been a number of very valuable points, and I really thank you for your insights on that, Lance. Is there anything you can just tell us a little bit about Love Me, Love You, the foundation you have for men? Is there any way that we can contribute? People out there can actually,
Well, there's lots of things. So we as I said, we go into clubs, schools, workplaces, deliver a whole heap of education and peer support training programs, just helping normalise the very language and process about understanding mental health and wellbeing. How do I support myself? How do I support other people? What am I doing that positively impacts? So we talk about behaviours, we talk about the choices we make, and the setting up your own individual frameworks. We do events all the time. You know, we're constantly campaigning and advocating for the cause to higher up through government and whatever it might be. We have the biggest thing I'm proud of with the organisation is we have a thing called a support pathway program, Albert. And what that does is it helps people, it's a counselling triage service, it helps people navigate through the mental health system. Because the system is broken, because the systems had to become too reactive and there's so much demand. And it's like this, so there's all the people and they've got the system at the end and a big bottleneck and it's like, oh, what's going on here? And there's this overflow and people slip through the gaps. So what we've been able to do is help people navigate and get the counselling service, so we bridge the gap from when you need it to the help that you get. Because there is, in Victoria, especially in Metro Melbourne, there's a 2 to 4 month waiting list for a psychology service.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
In parts of WA, there's been reported it's up to between 10 to 12 months wait before you can see a psychologist or a psychology service.
Well, that might be too late. It's just too long.
Most definitely. Most definitely. But it's how, okay, what are we doing beforehand? All these things we just talked about. How does as an organisation, as a workplace, as a community, understand what are the foundations of mental health and well-being? How am I actually interacting in these conversations? Who am I talking to? How do I talk to that person? How do I make sure my self-care is on point? And if it's not on point, how do I get it to on point, sort of thing? And understand how that works. So what we've done is, I said, bridge the gap for the process. In the initial phases is understanding what self-care looks like for that person. How to have that conversation, and then going, okay, well, in this time that you're waiting to see that higher up service, we've got a process that actually allows you to be able to check in, be accountable to what's going on, and then, okay, let's work forward. So,
how do we contact you if someone wants to contact?
It's through the website, mate. We're all over social media. So the website's lovemeloveyou.org.au. We are, we're full DGR status. We're a not-for-profit charity that works in this process. You know, it's something I'm very proud of in terms of what impact we have. And it is amazing. You know, we reach thousands and thousands of people through our programs. We help hundreds and hundreds of people every year through our support pathway program. And it's about understanding how we as an organisation and you as an organisation, Albert, understand how do you positively impact people's help-seeking behaviours. How do you make that happen? If someone's in need of help, whether it just be as simple as conversation, that is going to have a positive impact, how do you do that? And it's setting the culture. You know, as an organisation, you need to be able to set that culture so it's inclusive, it's supportive, and we're all here in this together. Just because someone's got the biggest office from the lowest of jobs in the industry, in the organisation, we're all here to be supported.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big thing. I keep saying this from our conversations that we've had over a period of time. Is relationships are everything. And I keep bringing it back to that. We need to understand the relationships that we have and how do we actually make sure those conversations are being had with the right people.
Well, that's been some absolutely fantastic advice and some great insights.
All good.
And really appreciated your time and enjoyed speaking to you today, Lance.
Thanks, Albert.
Thanks again, and we look forward to catching up next time.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Remember, love me, love you, mate.
Definitely.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.